Hi, Matt here from Matt Holman Golf. Just want to talk about iron play today, how to hit straight iron shots. And again, do you want to hit straight iron shots? I mean, my first point is when I'm teaching better players, if we say 5 and below professionals, the first question I ask them, what ball flight are you playing with? Do you like to draw the ball? Do you like to fade the ball? Are you trying to hit it straight? And to be honest, I'm always really worried when players turn around to me and say, I'm trying to hit the golf ball straight. For me, I always then think of in football, soccer, we can say there's a shot where we call the toe pump, where you strike that ball in a straight line. I use TrackMan here at the studio. Do you want a zero path, a zero club face? Well, maybe it depends who you talk to. For me, playing soccer is certainly easier with a slight curve. And I believe great golf is played with a slight curve. Now, often you go to a tournament, you watch Rory, watch the best players in the world, it looks like they're hitting the ball straight, but I can pretty much guarantee they're trying to play with some sort of curve. Very small fades, incredibly popular now. Maybe some guys a small draw, but the shape is small. I'm always concerned when I'm teaching tour level players and they've got a lot of curve in the ball. For me, all of a sudden, especially draw curve, it's going to be very, very easy to start blocking the ball and hooking the ball. So number one, you want to play with a slight spin. If you're a 5 and below player there, scratch player, I love the little fade. There's just so many things that it creates for you in terms of safety, consistency, and how can you hit those irons super straight? Well, or if we said in the intended direction you're aiming, a very, very, very small curve in a consistent manner. I think that's maybe a better way to put it. And really what it comes down to, okay, you've got the fundamentals, grip, posture, ball position, alignment. In the end, when you start working with tour players, they're all a little different. Some aim a little right, some aim a little left. The ball's a bit more forward, stronger grips, weaker grips. I mean, all those guys can play, but where they start looking very, very similar, I love sort of the golf history, looking back at old stills of the great swings, old footage, and where they're all going to look very similar, whatever method you believe in, they start to look very, very similar as they come down in terms of the shaft position. As soon as, again, in that better player, that shaft gets too much underplane, we're going to have lots of problems. If you're a slightly higher handicap and you're getting too much slice, we're definitely going to see this very much outside in movement. So number one, it's learning to swing the shaft on plane. Again, keeping the club on plane, keeping the club out in front of you, absolute critical. With that is also then the arm plane. So a lot get confused and think there's just one plane. The club plane and the arm plane are the same, and they're not. You can have an arm plane that's out in front of you with a shaft plane that's too flat, and vice versa. You can also have the opposite. So I work lots and lots of my players consistent arm plane. Okay, we don't want that arm drifting out. Face will get open, we hit blocks. We're going to hit low pulls to left-hand side. Body reacts, we can hit actually block cuts and pull hooks, anything can happen. So whatever line our arms go up, and ideally these arms are tracking down relatively close to the body in the downswing, close to the right hip. The shaft, the club head staying on plane, and then critical to that is the club face. We start getting that club face too open relative to the plane, we're going to be in trouble. We start to get the club face too shut late on in that downswing, we're going to have problems also. And even if you look at guys like Dustin Johnson, Brooks, Koepka, stronger club face players at the top, you bring them down into sort of delivery, and you look, I've created lots of these analyses in the past, you're going to see they're all looking very similar in this position here, and then it's all about just turning and moving through consistently. So last part on that, or we say quick summary, swinging on plane, and going forward I'll talk about obviously how do we achieve that. If you're too much outside in that slice movement, what drills do we do to get on plane? Or again, if you're that guy under plane, what drills do we do to keep the club out in front of you? So that's really it's the line of the shaft coming down. It's the positioning of the arms. We don't want the arms too out the club or the arms too in, and then a passive face or a face sort of matching the path coming down. One last point on that I didn't mention, again I'll talk more about this in detail in the future, synchronization. So, we could have a relatively on plane, arm plane, shaft plane, but all of a sudden the hips have turned way too quick, the body too quickly. That face is never going to square up and we're going to hit blocks. We're going to have to get active with the hands and we're going to hit shots to the left-hand side. Again, that body's way too still and never moves. The club's going to tend to last minute travel too much from the outside, swing even a little too much left through the hit with no sort of shaft lean. They're going to have this sort of thrown, scooped look. They're certainly not going to have any compression. That's going to be tough to hit sort of real consistent tight ball flight.